Now, a responsive government is one that demonstrates readiness to act when it matters. For university lecturers in Nigeria, government action came for them just in time. Now, less than 24 hours after the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, directed its members to withdraw services over unpaid June salaries, payment was made by the federal government. Now, this prompted a return to classrooms by the lecturers in affected institutions. According to the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, the Tinubu administration is committed to addressing the demands of academic and non-academic staff unions in Nigerian universities. Yeah, so, Azuko, finally, the federal government has now, listened to, should I say, the voice of reason by paying the June salaries of ASU members. But first of all, your thoughts on this before I go on.
No, I think I've listened to a couple of people and I've heard what they actually said. First, let's commend this administration. For at least for the first time, we are seeing a government that said, okay, fine, I'll have to stop, strike from happening in the universities.
Okay.
Universities must go full hog. If you are going for a 4-year course, you must complete it in 4 years. I, for one, I went for a 4-year course and I didn't go until I left the school 5 years.
Most of us.
From you just notice that they will just say, yeah, the lecturers are on strike, and there's nothing you can do, But from this administration, since they came in, they decided that, that has to be put to check. And their salaries were already going. The only problem they had was the difference between these IPs and then the one that the university lecturers insisted that they wanted, and that was where the problem started. But even at that, they've been having their salaries being paid. We didn't see any complaint, but I think they now started having issues when they are supposed to get them. Imagine if you plan that your salary has to come on a particular day.
Exactly.
And it's not coming. You begin to, wonder what is happening. So that is what the lecturers were actually talking, they were actually being worried about. And they were saying this has been going on and on for 5 months.
Absolutely.
And nobody is giving them any, response, Now, from what the ASU president said this afternoon, he said not that the money was not paid to the system. The money has been released. But somebody, one civil servant somewhere, is keeping the money. So we must not allow people to spoil good works. If we see people who are doing that, we need to call them out, And so I am happy that this has been resolved completely, because we can't afford our children to stay at home for a longer period. It doesn't make sense. If you know that you are going for a 4-year course, make sure you finish it, go to school 4 years, and make sure you leave the school. You understand? So thank God that this has been resolved, but there are some other underlying issues which the government needs to solve, because we don't want the situation you pay salary and then there's another problem.
Absolutely.
So the government must make sure that thank God they said they keep talking to ASU. They have these ongoing discussions with ASU, with the lecturers, which makes a fantastic, idea, which is good. So because unlike before, it is only when they call for strike, that is when you see government coming and setting up committees, for them to deal with, a certain issue.
But yeah, they say that strike is the only language the government understands. But are they even thinking about the effect it will have on the students? On there could be some, who might want to sit for exams, academic activities stalled. Are they even thinking of that? Should strike be the only thing?
The strike is usually supposed to be the last option. But because they know how the Nigerian government has always, behaved in the past. So they will always take the last option to be the first.
But is that right?
Do you know that there was a time that ASU was on strike just for the payment of salary? So many professors couldn't pay for their accommodation. Some died waiting for their salaries. So when you have this experience, or you have noticed this experience from your colleagues and you are getting this information from your colleagues, the best thing is you will always look for the most difficult, measures for you to get paid. And that is why they always go for, once they tell you, we are giving you a deadline for you to pay me.
Exactly.
You should be able to say, okay, fine, come and sit down, let's discuss. But we must not always get to that point whereby people will say, let's sit down, let's discuss. If I work for you, pay me when you're supposed to pay me. And if you know that you can't pay me at a particular time, there's something they call memo. You send out a memo.
Exactly.
I can't pay you because of X, Y, Z, or I can't pay you now, maybe in the next 2 days. Communication is vital. But when you don't have, when there's no communication between, the federal government and the ASU, it becomes a problem. And not even that. So this one is even when they pay the money to the system that they have created, they are seeing the money. Now, release the money becomes a problem. So it means that there's this bottleneck that is around it, which the federal government needs to do, so that we don't fall into it. Because now we have gone past this one.
Yes.
What of July?
Exactly. Because what do you think should be done? Because now you talked about July, August, because I think it was May, they had a delayed salary.
For 5 months, they've been having that issue.
Are we saying that this is now going to be the norm?
So that is where we need to call the Accountant General and ensure that we must not be hearing this. We can't be hearing this. Whatever the bottlenecks are, you must find a way to solve them. If ASU is saying that you are not paying us at when you are supposed to pay, then you need to look at the system. If it's their system, you talk to them. Can we change? Because ASU said they don't want to go to that IPPS again. They have created their own.
For UTAS?
No, they have the GIFMIS, Government Integrated Financial Management Information, Before it used to be Integrated Payroll and Personnel.
Yeah, that's
IPS. IPS. They've moved from there because what ASU is saying that government is trying to force them to be in IPS. But they said no. They are saying no. So they have their own and they want. So government must make sure that they pay, them at the time they're supposed to pay. If it's 20th or 25th or 26th or 30th, and something is going to happen between that period, 20th to 30th, you send them a memo.
But on this issue of the payment option, do you think the government and ASU need to maybe sit down again?
I think they've agreed on that already. They've agreed, and they've agreed on the system they are using. So they need to find a final solution on when once the money hits the system, they need to disburse immediately.
Okay. All right, let's talk about ASU now that the money has now been released or paid finally. I need your thoughts on that.
Yes, the best thing is for those who has the duty of ensuring that academics get paid on time to sit up, make that system work. IPS was not really good enough for the university system. It was unitary in nature, and academics kicked against it. They came up with their own idea, UTAS, but UTAS was not accepted. And then, ultimately, we now have this new one. So it should work. They must make it work.
Exactly.
If they don't make it work and workers go on strike, then it is their fault. They must ensure that it works, because this was not what ASU came up with. ASU had their own idea. You rejected their suggestion and came up with this one, so it must work. People must be paid not 10 days into a new month. It makes no sense. So if they are quarreling over that, then I do not blame them. Then the balance of the end academic allowance, which is 10 billion naira, government should also take steps to effect that payment. This administration has done a lot to keep the universities running. We've had uninterrupted academic calendar since 2023. That is what we want to continue to see. And I'm happy that that is happening. So hopefully, this system will be perfected, and academic staff of universities and other university workers will get paid latest by the last day of the month, not 10 days into a new month.
All right, then.
So I'm happy that they are back to work.
Exactly. We all are.